The most exciting thing that I have is to be able to watch the ranchers come to my sale because they're the salt of the earth. They're really, really good cattlemen of the world. And they come, they get to have fun, they get to talk and visit and enjoy stuff. And that's what makes me more excited than anything. So every week we're going to tackle some of the industry problems that will actually put more money in your pocket so that you guys are more sustainable and keep that ranch for your children and grandchildren. Every time I walk in the house, she'd pull a gun out and say, "Who's that?" In the industry, what I've been seeing is we've been getting a lot of phone calls. As I predicted about 10 years ago, the bolts are all falling apart, and we're getting calls from everybody trying to figure out how to fix these problems and these wrecks. That's kind of what I see in the industry right now. Everything else is pretty common. I mean, we got a shortage of cattle. We're going to continue that trend. Right now, I think the price of hamburgers is about $7 a pound, and the retailers are predicting it's going to go to over 10 this year. So that means it's still got some legs underneath this market. Those guys are right almost all of the time because they're better mathematicians, I guess, than the rancher. So I believe that they're right and that there is going to be a bigger shortage, and we're going to go up to about $10. On the Lucky 7 ranch front, we worked 975 head of cows, brake checked them and worked them in 3 days with our own crew. We don't have anybody else outside of it. Have an incredible, great crew. When I was a kid, you used to figure on days like that, and all the neighbors would help each other. It was about a 10 to 12, 13-man crew. We do it with, I guess we were doing it with 7, and we did it really efficiently with 7. I mean, we were going through a lot of cattle. What you have to understand is we don't have as much daylight as you do in the fall when most people do this. And not only that, but we have to get up and we have to feed 3,000 head of cattle before we go to work. We were blessed this year. Good Lord smiled upon us, I guess, because we had 3 days. But to run 975 head of cattle through after getting done feeding and after all of the chores and everything, and in the middle of the winter when you got the shortest daylight hours, that's pretty amazing. We don't even have anybody. I do the brake checking. We don't get nobody. We don't have to get anybody, and we go through them pretty fast. I mean, we could get even a lot leaner than that. We could run them through a 4-man crew. But when you don't have as much time and you don't have the facilities quite ready to go the way we want them to, we actually have 2 to 3 people sorting cows from calves. So you have to sort the cows and the calves so you can precondition the calves. And we don't have enough time, so we had 450 head of cows in one bunch. So one afternoon, we sorted the calves off and ran them, and then the next morning, we just pulled the cows off, and 3 people was sorting cows, and 4 of us was running through the chute. So we'll have, and we're giving them quite a few things. We're giving them 2 shots, and we're putting paste in their mouth for wormer, and then we're putting a topical wormer for lice on their backs. And so there's quite a few things. Plus, I'm brake checking them. And when we're going at a good clip, we were running right at 120 an hour. So we're doing over 2 a minute. Yeah, we can fly. Yeah, and we don't have everything set up perfectly, but that's what you have to do. I mean, we have way too many cows to do it to where you can't just fly. Everything we have has to go fast. And everybody knows what they're doing, and it just works out really well. And one thing that I do, and I learned this from Bill and Diane Helms down there in Oklahoma, when you start running as many cattle through a chute as we do, we probably run 20,000 head of cattle through a chute. By the time we brake check them, we AI them, we precondition them, and we do everything that we do with them, we're probably running 20,000 head of cattle through a chute. So we're talking a matter of seconds. So figure the difference, easily a minute. But even if you're talking 20 to 30 seconds an animal, do the math on how many days that might be that we can save by just doing it right. And what the typical ranchers do is they all work together. And I love that because you get a lot of camaraderie around your neighbors and stuff. We just have too many cattle. If we were to work with the neighbors and do everything with the neighbors, we would literally we'd probably have 30 days of help that we'd have to go help the neighbors. I don't have 30 days. We don't have 30 extra days. And if we wake up and had a good morning and we want to go run in about 300 head of cows in the afternoon, we run 300 head of cows in, we check in, we're done. We don't have to plan 3 weeks in advance and just hope we have a nice warm day. We're making a lot of money right now because the cattle prices are good. I literally say the biggest headache I have is I got way too many cattle in the greatest cattle cycle in the world. Anybody that's listening to this podcast, you need to be aware more of the time you got to go to some place that isn't one of the establishment, the places that aren't sitting there overfeeding their bulls. Everybody on the place is shaking their head and saying, we got cows everywhere. What are we going to do? I've preg checked at 20 or 30 below in wind. It's not much fun. Once you get the vet coming, you don't get a chance. You don't get to quit. You finish the day no matter what. It doesn't matter. It's going to get done. And so it just makes a lot of sense to be able to do it at your own leisure. I can watch the weather now, and we planned 3 days that looked pretty good, and we just hit them and got her done. But that's kind of what we've done. And it's a whole change in our program. We're producing a lot more fall calving cows because the customers really like the fall bred bulls. So we're breeding a lot more of those cattle. And I think it's going to work extremely well. We're going through some growing pains right now, trying to figure it all out. But it looks like it's going to work exceptionally well once we get it all figured out. It's just a matter of time, you know. You go out there and you try something, you think it's going to work. And if it doesn't, then you just got to change, adapt, and go to the next plan until you get it right. So you have 6 generations of education that will back what I do and my decisions that make me better at what I do. Not only that, but the experience and the education all throughout the world that I have and the people that I can call and talk to and get educated with actually do a lot to help you get to these positions as well. Yeah. I started at 4 this morning on this first set of heifer watching. So I've been going pretty hard all day. Okay. So what we're doing right now, we're calving some heifers, first calf heifers. We do that. So when people are buying yearling bulls to breed first calf heifers, they're all out of first calf heifers, so they're going to be calvinies. The one problem that we're having, and we had a year ago, was that because we made our cattle so feed efficient, we got probably almost too many cattle. I won't say we have too many cattle, but we didn't create enough infrastructure to handle all of the cattle. So part of our problem that we have right now is trying to keep cattle straight because we have too many cattle too close to each other as we're continuing to build our infrastructure that can handle all of the cattle. So I literally say the biggest headache I have is I got way too many cattle in the greatest cattle cycle in the world. And I'm not making it up. You can go out there and look at every pen. They're stocked full of cattle. There are cattle everywhere. And trying to, on a daily basis, keep them managed from pen to pen and keep everything separated because you got your fall calvers, you got your spring calvers, you got your yearlings, you got your first calf heifers, you got all of these things. And simply, we didn't have the infrastructure. 10 years ago, we had half as many cattle that ate the same amount of feed on the exact same ranch. Now we have twice as many cattle, didn't make a bigger infrastructure because I never even seen that one coming. I was creating feed efficiency, and every single ranch needs to run their cow herd to where they eat every bite of feed they have. You might even buy a little bit of extra feed. That's running 100% efficient. And when you're doing that and you're not paying attention to how many cattle you're running, and pretty quick you run out of places to put them because your feed base never changed, but your feed efficiency did, and you got more cows than you've ever had. And I never thought about it either. I mean, literally, you can go everywhere you want, and there's cows everywhere, and people are just going, everybody on the place is shaking their head and saying, we got cows everywhere. What are we going to do? We're not feeding anymore. We just have twice as many cows. And so last year, it's a good problem to have because we're making a lot of money right now because the cattle prices are good. And so what is happening is we're dumping a ton of money into building infrastructure. We bought 5 or 6 semi-loads of metal just to build more stuff. We're building all sorts of stuff, and then lo and behold, I'll probably wake up 10 years from now and we'll have twice as many cows again, and I'll have to start again. I don't know. Nobody ever would have guessed that we could have done what we've done through feed efficiency alone. And when you really look at ranching, we concentrate on the 6 greatest economic indicators on every ranch in the genetic field. Cows have to get bred up. Cows have to have a live calf. They have to wean a live calf. Then they have to have longevity. A cow needs to be produced until she's 13 years of age. And then add to the high elevation pap testing and the work that we've done on less sickness and death loss. The cows live longer, healthier, and then you add to it the number one economic indicator right now, which is feed efficiency, which is 70% of the cost of doing business on every single ranch is your feed costs. That's what we do. Those 6 traits right there that we concentrate on are 10 times more powerful than any EPD or number you will ever find in another bull sales catalog. Period. If you don't get a cow bred, you're out of business. If you don't get a live calf, you're out of business. Every one of these things are crucial, and they don't have one number or one EPD that'll figure this, that you can go out there and figure this out. Nobody else is doing what we're doing. We make it a real busy time of year because the bull sale, of course, it's like going to Las Vegas when you have a bull sale. You put in 365 days of the year and you got 4 or 5 hours to find out if you make money or you lose money. It's high stakes gambling at the least. The difference, and think about it, we'll sell 414 bulls in this year's sale. The difference between a good bull sale and a bad bull sale is probably $1,500 a bull. So that's pretty high stakes in my opinion. And take it to another step. What if you don't sell them all? You're talking a lot of money difference. So yeah, we are really, really packed full of trying to get the sale to where it works for everybody. We don't have to get greedy. We don't try to push the bulls like some people do, but we do have to make a living. So we continue to bring these bulls that the whole entire world needs to market and keep doing that. And so it's pretty high stakes. And we're in one of the most competitive markets, probably maybe the most competitive market in agriculture, and that is the bull sales. You've got professionals all over. They hire professionals all over to market bulls. My competitors got people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars promoting the bulls. That's what they do. They go out there and they literally have people that go in and fly you in jets. They'll go pick you up at your house and fly you in a jet to the sale to get you to buy a bull. We don't play that game. And then not only that, but you're also looking at the absentee owners. And these guys are getting cherry picked. These absentee owners, they're getting cherry picked. So you got a lot of these high-end bull salesmen. They'll go in there and they will grab your manager, fly him in a jet, and pay him a commission on every bull he buys so that he's making money. So, and I won't tell you the name of who was doing it, but the manager was making $60,000 a year buying bulls for his ranch. And he was making the guy that flew him in there, the bull salesman, he was making him probably a couple $100,000. So it's big business. Well, they took the bulls and they put them on the ranch. Back then, when I found out, the bulls were worth $3,500 at tops. They were selling those bulls to that guy for $7,000, and then he was getting a $1,500 commission. So the absentee landowner, and this is something the absentee people, anybody that's listening to this podcast, you need to be aware. More of the time, you're getting bulls not because they're good quality, but because your manager's getting paid off. We won't play that. We won't play that game. Yeah, it's a standard in the industry, and there's a lot of corporate ranchers out there that are getting burned, and a lot of these guys, because they buy them bulls, the same bulls that I'm talking about, the bulls that fall apart. I just talked to a guy the other day. He bought 11 bulls, and out of 11 bulls, none of them made it through the first breeding season. These guys are doing this on a regular basis, and these managers are buying them. They're not getting their cows bred. Their death loss is horrific. The cows, when they get said and done, are horrible. I mean, they ruin the rest of the herd. I just talked to a guy from Utah yesterday that was talking to people, and he said that it's just incredible. He said he goes to these corporate ranchers, and they have hundreds of bulls that are no good, and the cows are starting to fall apart. Their heifers are horrible, and they're losing money like crazy, but the people at the top don't understand ranching. The owner of the ranch doesn't understand ranching enough to understand what's going on and how come they're losing so much money. But this business is happening and been happening for quite a few years. I became aware of it about 10 years ago. And actually, I even had the guy, he looked at me and he says, if you want to pay me the same thing as this other guy's paying me, I'll buy them from you. And I said, I don't do that. We run a straight operation. We won't do that. And we still won't. Well, let me go one step further on this. There's an outfit in Idaho, a huge outfit. Guy never made any money in his life in the livestock industry, but he bought a lot of ranches, decided to sell bulls. His ranches need to purchase 70 to 80 bulls a year. And so this guy sends his people in there to bid every single person in that audience up on those bulls. So you should be able to buy that same bull for $7,500. They bid you up to $15,000 because they're all sitting in there. They're bidding you up. Well, there was an outfit in Montana, and I know this for a fact because it was my uncle that was bidding on him. They thought he was going to bring a bull to they thought he was going to bid a bull to $100,000, and he chickened out. So at 85 or $90,000, they didn't have a live buyer. So they ended up selling that bull to an Amish crew. What's the chances that happened? If you watch the chain of events, that bull went through 5 different owners before it found a home. That bull was worth $20,000 at tops, but this guy, my uncle, more than likely told him, "I'll run that bull to 100 grand." So they thought they had $100,000 live. So they bid him up, and he chickened out at like 80,000. They got stuck with that bull and couldn't get rid of him. The top 3 bulls in that sale were sold just like that. So outfit that I'm talking about in Idaho, my friend was over there, and he says, "How come you were buying all those bulls?" Lucky 7 Angus was buying bulls at that sale. I said, "I wouldn't buy one of them pieces of shit. No way. They're horrible. I wouldn't buy one." He goes, "Your ranch bought 16 bulls." Because they got stuck with 16 bulls and they had to stick them on somebody's ranch, and they thought that they could use my reputation to make it look like I was buying these bulls. This stuff happens all the time at these big outfits. That's why they have these $15,000, $20,000 sales, because they're bidding everybody up. And it's a pretty evil game, in my opinion. Well, and my auctioneer, the auctioneer that used to call my sale, before he started the sale, every time he would say, "Who are we going to bid up and what kind of things are we going to do?" And I said, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. I said, "Bid them up. What are you doing about that?" He said, "That's what the industry does." And I says, "I'm too damn stupid. I'll get caught." I said, "Just sell the damn bulls." And I've done that every year. Every single year for the first 15 or 20 years that he called my sale, before the sale, he would ask, "Who are we bidding up? What are the games we're going to play today?" And I says, "I ain't smart enough to do that." I said, "Just sell the damn bulls." But that's industry standards. And it happens more so with the big outfits because they know the game better than the littler ones. They're really good at it. I mean, they get several different people in there, and you get the producers that are selling these bulls like that and marking them up. They've all know the game. The auctioneers know the game. The ringmen know the game. Everybody knows that game. And they know that there's stuff going on, but they can't say anything because they're all getting paid by that rancher. And more of them are getting paid on a commission, so the higher they sell, the better off they do anyway. So it works out for everybody. You ought to be able to just buy them. An auction market is the best market because that's a bid. It's a perfect set price. Supply and demand sets the price. You got to know what a good bull is worth, but you also got to go to some place that you can trust that they're not going to bid you up. You got to go to some place that isn't one of the establishment, the places that aren't sitting there overfeeding their bulls, that have professional salesmen on staff to market bulls, that fly you in on a jet. If you want to know the first thing you need to run from is if they say they're going to fly you into their sale, you need to run from that outfit because they're going to bid your ass up. They'll pay for, they won't just pay for your trip on that jet. They'll pay for that damn jet. You know, that's just the way it works. So if they say, "Come to my sale and I'll give you X, Y, and Z," run. Because it'll cost you way more. You would have been able to, that trip on that jet to go buy a couple of them crappy bulls. You could have went to the Caribbean for a month. Just as well had a vacation on a jet. So it was a article in one of the journals. What's a good bull worth? And they basically said a good bull could be worth anywhere from 15 to 17,000, or no, I think they said 12,000 to 17,500. And the thing that got my attention on that is they said he needed to have a fertility test. Well, I think they all need to have a breeding soundness exam. There's no doubt that if you can't get a live calf out of one, they're no good. I agree with that, but then they said, and they need to have EPDs. Well, if that bull falls apart because he's too fat and pretty and he doesn't breed any cows, how much is he worth? Because they have EPDs and he's registered doesn't mean not one iota as to whether or not he's a good bull. That just means somebody took the work to go ahead and get him registered and put numbers on him, which also meant that they now can try and give you a big line of BS to try and make you pay for more for that bull than he's worth. Well, yeah, you register it with the Angus Association, and the Angus Association does take advantage of all of that for sure. They're no different than the government. There's everybody in the middle stealing from each other and making you pay taxes. That's kind of what happens in those deals. Yeah. You're buying a word. Well, and to be honest, when they started, it's just like the government. When the government got started, it was a good thing. They did it to help make the people better. And their associations and the registered animals, they did it to make everybody better. And it did that. It took away some of the mongrel cattle, some of the cattle that weren't very good. It took away a lot of those. But what happens when it gets too big is everybody starts stealing in the middle, and then all of a sudden everybody knows how to start using ways to pull money out of it and suck money out of the system. And everybody basically, it's kind of like a free for all of trying to figure out how to get money out of the system. Now, a lot of that money's just going out of your pockets buying these bulls that were never any good, that aren't breeding any cows. The money's coming from the registered breeders that dump money into the system so that the association will tell them how to sell bulls through these numbers. And then the actual money actually comes from the rancher, the poor rancher that's paying way too much for a bull that wasn't worth what he paid for. I just talked to a guy out of North Dakota yesterday, and he basically was buying bulls from this company out of Texas, and the bulls are bringing over $15,000 a piece. Those bulls aren't worth over $5,000 in the best day of their life, and that's just because most of them are going to go to slaughter anyway because they're not going to breed a cow. But he had to pay $15,000 because they had all these numbers and they had all these professional people in there. So everybody's paying $10,000 over market on these bulls. That's why the association makes money, is because they create the numbers that somebody can sell, and the numbers actually don't guarantee to make you any profit at all. Most of the people that are selling the numbers don't know what to do with a cow and how to raise a cow to make it work on your ranch. And so your cow herd has got to a point right now, is why we have the shortage in numbers right now, because the cow herds are not breeding up like they used to. Number one. Number two, these cattle have to be fed all the time in order to survive. And so if you have any kind of a drought-related situation, they have to sell all their cattle because the cattle can't survive. Since 2015, the Lucky 7 Angus customers increased their herds by 15%, whereas the rest of the industry has decreased by 25% in the same geographic regions. That means some of the cattle were economically viable and some were not. Didn't mean we had a bad drought. We just mean we made some bad cattle. And these cattle are getting worse every day. I can't believe in the last 2 weeks all of the phone calls I've got from somebody else's customers calling me and saying, hey, I need to fix my problem. I got bulls. These bulls aren't working. They're falling apart. It's just not working at all. My cows aren't doing what they used to. My breed up's not what it used to be. All of these wrecks. And I mean, I hear them all. And a lot of them, I'm on the phone 3 hours a day talking to people about how to fix their problem with bulls. And you've got the people that are creating these, and they're great big outfits that all promise you. It's funny because they all promise you they're going to pay you a premium. And now it seems like none of them are. The guy in Texas and the guy in Idaho, Minnesota, they're not paying these guys a premium at all, but they got them to buy the bull, but they're not paying them premium on their calves. And now they got bulls that they can't use. And then you got the guy out of Colorado that got the midget cattle. And those guys are just absolutely tearing them up. I mean, it's like, holy smokes, this is the worst thing I ever seen. A guy called me the other day and said, I bought 2 of those bulls. I said, have you seen them yet? And he goes, yeah, why? And I says, what do you think? And he goes, I don't know. I'm not sure about it. Wow, you just bought 2 bulls for $15,000 and you don't know if you want to even put them with your cow. It's like, I wouldn't put them with my cows. I had one come to my house. That bull was 3 years old. He weighed 950 pounds. And he wasn't even a short, stout bull. He was a skinny-looking steer outfit. 3 years of age. I wouldn't turn him with nothing. I mean, I'd have castrated the damn thing. And that was the number one bull the guy had. Showed up at my place. Not only that, but the little bugger I had a 16-year-old cow out there, and that little bugger rode her to death. And then the guy out of his little clan told me I charged him too much because I charged him $100 to haul that bull from California all the way to Montana. And he killed a $5,000 cow. I don't know. It's probably a $100,000 cow if you really looked at it. But yeah, he didn't weigh over 950 pounds as a 3-year-old. And that was the best they had. I'm excited and proud to be able to say that our customers trusted me enough, probably starting 10 years ago, that they would call me up and say, hey, I made money last year, so I want to send you money for bulls next spring. And they can send it to me the 31st of December. I cash it the next day. And every one of these guys that do it, I tell them, I said, I'll give you money back. I've never had to so far, but I've had a lot of people that have done that, to where they'll give me the money in the year prior to it. So I do not believe that there's going to be very, very many registered breeders out there, bull sellers that anybody's ever going to trust enough. But for somebody to throw $100,000 in your checking account, or maybe $200,000, that's a big deal to me. That's trust. And so it's worked out pretty good. It worked out for them. It worked out for us. I mean, I'll take that every day. I got a guy sitting in the chairs wanting to buy a bull. And I'll tell him when they buy or when they send that money in there, if you don't spend it, that's fine. I'll send it all back 100%. It don't matter to me, but whatever you want to do is fine with me. But at least I got him sitting in the stands. The sale be always the first Saturday in March at the Riverton Livestock Sale, a livestock auction, I guess I should say. We've been doing that ever since we've had it. I think I don't remember what it is, but somewhere almost 30 years that we've been having the sale there. I finally got my last pictures taken just a few hours ago. The catalog is officially going to the next person, which will actually put it into order. We put all the numbers together, all the lots together, all of the data, pictures and everything, and then we put it to a person that can actually put it to where it's capable of being printed, and then it will be printed. Probably will go right. It'll probably go out somewhere in about 5 to 7 days. Probably be online at lucky7angus.com within that 5 to 7 day period. And so it'll be rolling out the door. It's a lot of work, so I'm not sure if I'm excited or not. It used to be extremely exciting and still is exciting. The most exciting thing that I have is to be able to watch the ranchers come to my sale, because they're the salt of the earth. They're really, really good cattlemen of the world. And they come, they get to have fun, they get to talk and visit and enjoy stuff. And that's what makes me more excited than anything. They'll all come to me and say, hey, and they'll tell me all of their success stories of what their bulls have done for them. And they're my best advertisers. I always say if I could just have them out on live TV all the time, I'd never, ever have a problem selling a bull. They're my best advertisers, and they're a lot of fun. We have absolutely the best bull sale in the United States because we have fun. We have the real ranchers. We don't have the pain in the ass guys that have starch genes. We have the real ranchers that come in there, have a good time. We take care of them. They come buy bulls. Some of these guys, literally, I had a guy last year show up to the sale, and he didn't want to miss the sale because he has so much fun coming to the sale, but he didn't need a bull. So he brought a friend to buy a bull so he could justify coming to the sale and having fun. Yeah, there's a lot of action going on, I can tell you that. We don't have VIPs here. Everybody's the same. I don't do the VIP deal at all. I mean, the biggest reason that I cleaned up is because we're flying to Washington, D.C. Tuesday morning. I got invited to go to the National Prayer Breakfast and all of that stuff. So I figured I had to get cleaned up. I haven't probably shaved or showered for a month because it's been a crazy, crazy, wild month. But that's why I'm cleaned up, as I figured if I'm going to be sitting in front of some of those high-end people, I probably ought to look a little bit more respectable. If I'm representing the agriculture industry and the livestock industry, I probably ought to be a little cleaner than I normally am. You should have seen me before I shaved. I don't even think my wife knew who I was. Every time I walk in the house, she'd pull a gun out and say, who's that? So as I'm thinking about these podcasts, I look up at the wall and it says, our goal is to have the most profitable customers in the livestock industry. That's not just a place to sell bulls. That's not just a saying to sell bulls. That's a true from our heart saying. And what I'm trying to do is to try and figure out how can you guys make a living. I've watched for my whole entire life ranchers come and go. Ranchers that were in business for 3 or 4 or 5 generations and lost the ranch. And then I watched new ranchers come into the industry and get their butt kicked. And I've got really, really sick and tired of watching everybody basically take money out of the hands of the ranchers and the people in the livestock industry. And so that's what this podcast is for, trying to help those people keep that money in their pocket. There's a lot of games out there, and I wish I wasn't so smart at it, but it's cost me a lot of money to get as smart as I am, I guess. My education was not cheap, never is. And I hope I can cut a few corners for those people that are out there. Remember, ranching is an industry that is emotionally satisfying, but if you don't learn how to make money, somebody else will own your ranch. Well, we're so emotional in ranching that we just love doing what we do. But understand, the people that are cutting meat up, They want to own your ranch too, and they don't love near as much what they do as you do. So they have a sharper pencil. Everybody wants to be who you are. So therefore, everybody that you deal with probably has a sharper pencil than you do. And you have to turn that around in a ranch. And if you want to keep that ranch for your children and your grandchildren, you have to turn that around because nobody has as good a job as you do. It's a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Don't get me wrong. But every single person wants to have your ranch and wants to have your job. So if you become emotional and don't sharpen your pencil, they will have your ranch and you'll be working for somebody else. That's just the way I've seen it my whole entire life. I've seen that happen, and I just don't want that to happen to any more people. Anything I can do to help. Yeah, so every week we're going to tackle some of the industry problems that will actually put more money in your pocket so that you guys are more sustainable and keep that ranch for your children and grandchildren. And remember, just because you wear the hat doesn't mean you're a cowboy.